Chair calls the Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District regular board meeting to order. Can we please bow our heads for a moment of silent prayer? Amen. Chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to include under 4.3, approval for a work session with MSBA, informational item, policy BJ, just to be included. Once again, there will be an approval for a work session with MSBA under 4.3, and an informational item to be included, policy BJ. And under 4.7, a donation for Threadgill Elementary School. Now the chair will entertain a motion to accept the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Good afternoon. The superintendent's report. The Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District's faculty and staff are working to ensure that the focus remains on academic achievement. The Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District is aware of COVID-19 concerns and takes the safety of our students and employees seriously. We are grateful for the support of our parents, students, faculty, staff, community members, and our Board of Trustees. Continuing virtual education. According to Dr. Thomas Dobbs, Mississippi State Health Officer's statement on August 21st, 2020, Mississippi will see another spike in COVID-19 cases in 3 to 4 weeks. In LaFleur County, there were 472 COVID-19 cases reported in June, 827 in July, and 1,234 reported in August. Due to the increase of coronavirus cases in LaFleur County, the district will continue virtual learning until further notice. We will not follow the hybrid schedule on September 8, 2020. District information. The district will continue to provide information using the following platforms: the district's website, the district's Facebook page, robocall, robotext, the district's newspaper, our new learning management system, Canvas, local media outlets, word of mouth, calls to schools, district email system. We do encourage you to listen to all videos and read all information in its entirety. Technology questions. The district encourages students and parents who may have questions or concerns regarding your child's Chromebook and or hotspot to please contact your child's school immediately. We have also provided numbers for technical support, which can be found on our website and our Facebook page. Emergency instructional packets versus online learning. Emergency instructional packets will only be used when students are unable to access the internet due to inclement weather and or other emergencies. Students are not required to complete the emergency instructional packets and attend online classes at the same time. Once you receive the emergency instructional packets, please keep them in a safe place to use during inclement weather and other emergencies. Parents will be notified when they can complete the instructional packets. These packets will be labeled as emergency instructional packets. Once these packets are available, parents can pick them up from their child's school. These packets will also be posted on the district's website. Resource packets. Students may have additional resources or handouts from the school to better assist them in following along with daily lessons. These resources are different from the emergency instructional packets used for emergency purposes. These packets will not be labeled emergency instructional packets. Monthly parent meetings. Each principal will schedule monthly parent meetings to keep parents informed and also provide additional opportunities to respond to questions parents may have. Census awareness. The district continues to encourage families to complete the Census 2020. For those who are in need of census materials and/or their census ID, please call 1-800-354-7271. School at Risk report for East Elementary School and additional targeted support and interventions report for LaFleur County Elementary School. Both schools have implemented virtual instruction for this school year. Teachers have been engaged in professional development sessions, such as navigating the learning management system and delivering explicit direct instruction. On tomorrow, all instructional staff will participate in training sessions on effectively deconstructing state standards to improve instruction. This concludes the superintendent's report.
Chair will entertain a motion to receive the deputy superintendent's report.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
16th section land, Mr. Ainsworth and Ms. Clerk.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Okay.
Good. So we have two 16 section items tonight. The first we're going to do is open up a hunting and fishing bid, and Ms. Clerk, you did receive one bid, is that correct? Will you go ahead and open that up now and read it out aloud? Okay, let me refresh everybody's memory of what we happened at the last meeting. So at the last meeting, we realized that the prior rent was money outdoors, and they were paying the school district $18,000 for the same piece of property. Now, we've advertised it. This is our second time to go through the process, and Money Outdoors basically has not participated in either one of those bid openings. So I know that's considerably less money. The options the board has, unfortunately, we could re-advertise again, or we could simply try to negotiate a short-term lease at a price that y'all decide you feel like is worthy of a short-term lease. I do believe that the reason you received so much money 5 years ago when we bid this thing out is because it basically got into a competitive situation amongst several folks that were wanting to lease the property.
I'm gonna negotiate and ask about a short-term lease.
Ms. Clark, you may have to interpret. You may have to let me know what they're saying. 'Cause I may not be able to hear them.
Get a little bit more information on short-term.
Mr. Ainsworth, can you hear me? Can you hear me,
I cannot
Mr.
hear.
Can you hear?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think it's gonna be the board's consensus to negotiate for a short-term lease for at least half of that amount.
So, Ms. Clark, I did hear short-term lease, but I did not hear the monies that they were looking to obtain. So they're asking for $9,000 on a short-term lease. I will do my best to negotiate that with Mr. Leard. if he fails to be willing to do that, then we would go ahead and advertise it back out in the paper and accept bids at the
Can he
next
please
month's regular
define
scheduled meeting.
short-term lease?
Ms. Clerk, let him know that the gentleman is here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's ask him if he's willing to accept that offer.
Third.
Tell him that he said that this is, can you come to the mic, sir?
Yeah, I'm the only one that's bid it 3 times, and, you know, I'm certainly not willing to do 9,000. I bid 3,100, and yeah, I think that's a fair number, but I'm just not gonna do that, because there's no access to it, and, you know, it's kind of risky anyway. But floods a lot, so. I mean, I'm just gonna have to go with my number of 3,100, and if the board don't want that, that's fine.
So, yeah, we said, so, did he hear what he said?
He mentioned access, and I couldn't hear what else he said.
That's 163 acres.
Okay, that's the board's wishes on what they desire to do. If they choose to do a short-term lease, we could do a short-term lease, or we would simply put it back out for bid.
So he denied it, so we're gonna ask that he re-advertise. Wait just a second. Okay, speaking of Mike, Mr. Williams.
Okay, we now advertised it 3 times, and he only somebody bid it 3 times. So oatmeal beating oatmeal, I think we need to accept the bid.
Question, Madam President. Mr. Ainsworth, if we don't accept the bid, are we required by law to lease the property, or can we just let it sit dormant?
I couldn't quite hear the question. What was required by law? What was the question, Ms.
Are we
Clerk?
required by law to lease/rent the land, or are we allowed to let it sit dormant?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question. Well, you're not required to have to lease it, but we obviously would like to lease it to generate revenue to the school system. And what I have found over the years, if you have a tract of land and it's not under lease, and you have another leaseholder within the section, it is extremely difficult to control whether or not they're using your property without compensating the school. So I would never, ever advise the school board to not lease the property at all. I would rather receive some revenue on a very short-term lease that we at least have a tenant on the property as opposed to having it vacant and not bringing in revenue.
Go ahead.
Mr. Ainsworth,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the price per acre with this description of land?
Like I've been telling y'all before, the land is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. I mean, it's when you advertise it in that local paper and you accept bids, and this is our 3rd time we actually do it, then it is worth what somebody's willing to pay. And that's no different than if you were out there trying to sell your personal property. At the end of the day, you know, that sets the value, and that's the reason you put it up for sealed bids. Now, do I think that if you were to maybe go out there and advertise, maybe even outside your local paper, and you were to try to go advertise maybe in the Greenville paper, an adjoining other county that has a lot of good hunting land, maybe Yazoo, you know, would you potentially get more bids? I would think you would. But, you know, there's cost, a little bit of cost involved with running those ads in those local newspapers. But at the end of the day, you're trying to generate as much revenue as you can from that piece of property. But to answer your question, I mean, it's worth what somebody's willing to pay and what you're willing to accept.
Okay, Antoine, if you wanna make your motion.
I make a motion that we go along with the bid.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Aye.
The ayes do not have it.
Madam President, I would like to make an additional motion,
Yeah.
if I may.
I mean, I'm sorry, I said the ayes do not have it.
Okay.
The ayes have it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Bailey.
So, Madam President, I would like to make a motion to allow Mr. Ainsworth to work with Mr. Lear in doing a lease at the amount that he has suggested, but for a reduced length of time.
So you saying for him to negotiate it?
Right, a length of time versus the standard 5 or 3 year lease, to work with Mr. Lear for a reduced length of time, if it's 2 years or 3 years, and then it'll allow us to re-advertise at the next point. But that's my motion.
Okay, so make that motion, Dr. Bailey.
I move that we, the board grant Mr. Ainsworth the authority to work with Mr. Lear to negotiate a short-term lease for this particular description of land. At
Question.
the bidded amount.
So have we defined what short term is, Dr. Bailey?
For me, whatever Mr. Lears would agree to.
Put the 3 years.
2 to 3 years,
He
but
said
I would
3
leave that
years.
to
He
Mr.
said 3 years.
Mr.
But you asking that Mr. Ainsworth work that out with
Right,
him?
right.
So, okay. So can I get a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Ms. Clerk?
Have a good day.
I did not know. I'm sorry, I just didn't hear. You want to interpret? Tell me what happened. Okay. Yes, I will negotiate with him first thing in the morning. The second item is going to be the Cabernet getaway assignment that needs to be approved. So does everybody see on their report item number 2?
Yes.
The request for a 16-section assignment. And basically, when you approve an assignment, it's coming out of one entity to the other entity, and they take on the terms and conditions of the contract, which means they have to abide by all the rules and regulations, obviously including the annual rental payment and the property taxes that are due annually. And I believe we have signatures from both parties on that, and and they have paid the transfer fee. Is that correct, Ms. Clark?
Okay, can I get a board member to make a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried.
Ms. Clark? As a discussion item, would the board like to be able to address what we went over real quick? It'll take about 2 minutes. Do they have time for that?
Yes.
Okay. Last week, Ms. Clark and I, we sat down and we worked on documenting all the annual rental payments that the school district should be received based on the fiscal year. And we have a spreadsheet, and we documented every payment. We actually went through Receipt Book and Marathon software program that you have there in the office. And we went through and put all of those payments on the annual report, and we actually created a spreadsheet. I don't know if anyone has a copy of that spreadsheet,
Yes.
Ms. Milton or
We all
Dr.
have
Brown.
it. We all have it.
Y'all have that?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like for that to be shared with the board members, and I apologize if it didn't get put in the board packet. But what we need to do, in my opinion, at this point, these are folks that we can't account for rental payments, and I know it's significant monies. I think, and then I'm not saying that they have or have not paid. We basically can't find the payment. But what I would like to do is for us to draft a letter, send it out to these folks, a friendly letter saying, look, we've gone through our receipt books, we've gone through our software program. Your rental payment for this calendar year cannot be accounted for. Please provide either a receipt or a bank statement where the check cleared. And if you cannot do so, we need payment within a short period of time. And for you as board members, I want you to tell me how many days you'd like to be able to give these folks to make good on either providing a receipt or bank statement showing that they made payment, or writing you a check before you move further, canceling the lease. But that's where we are, and that's what we've come up with as far as going through your records.
So last time,
unless y'all have, now this is open for discussion, I'm just throwing that out as far as, drafting a letter. I mean, if you know a different way to handle it, please.
Mr.
however we need
Ainsworth,
to do it.
on the last time, how many days did we give you? Was it 30 days?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. It was 30 days.
Yes, sir. I think it would be, is it okay? I think it would be the consensus of the board to allow 30 days.
Allow 30 days to be able to either come with a receipt or a bank statement showing that, yes, ma'am. So we'll go ahead and get those notices out, and I will copy Dr. Brown, Ms. Milton, and Ms. Clerk on that, and whoever else that you'd like me to copy on the email as far as the letters that will be sent out. And hopefully we can account for they can account for some of these payments that are missing, and if not, then hopefully we'll get some of those monies collected.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Ainsworth,
Anything else about 16 section while we're here? And I apologize, I can't be there tonight. Just something come up and I had to be out of town and I just couldn't attend. But is there anything else that's on your mind about 16 section that we need to talk about?
Yes, sir. Board member Jackie Lewis has a question for you.
So Mr. Ainsworth, how difficult would it be for you to provide us with a listing of the residential properties?
What was the question, Ms. Clerk?
The residential 16 section property?
So you would like to have a list of the residential properties that are under management? Is that the question? Oh, yeah, that's very simple to do. Just to let you know real quick, when y'all hired me, the first thing I did, I set all of your leases up in a database. So I have all your information as far as your leaseholder's name, address, phone number, acreage, monies, when the rents are due, what type of lease they have, the classification. So that's real simple. I can print out a report for residential, and it'll have all those folks, and you'll see what they're paying and where the lands are being leased and what their expiration dates are. And I can do that for the commercial leases, the few that you probably have, and agricultural leases and hunting leases as well. So all of that's in my computer system, okay? So that's not a problem at all to get that report.
Okay, thank you.
At some point, I'd like for us to have a little quick work sessions, for about an hour. I think at some point we need to kind of look. You've got a school section out there. Ms. Milton, I know I maybe sent you some information. You were asking about what lands were in between. Refresh my memory exactly.
Greenwood and Itabena.
Ms. Milton, if you would, it was in between
Greenwood and Itabena.
In town, and where was it? I'm sorry, I can't. Greenwood and Itabena. So we had that one section that we have hundreds of 99-year lease contracts that you're not receiving any revenue off of. And I'd like to kind of go over that with the school board members just to kind of show them how many pieces of property that we're talking about. I've worked for other schools that had a similar situation, and I actually went through and renegotiated leases for those school districts, and I can give you the names and contacts of the superintendents that I worked for, and it generated considerable revenue. Now, that's just something that we need to sit down and look at and see if y'all ever want to move in that direction, okay?
So, Mr. Ainsworth, would September be too early or would October be too late? We have a work session at the end of September.
Here, and I'm sorry. Okay, what date would that be?
The last Wednesday. Is what?
Okay.
September
Ms. Clark,
30th.
If you don't mind just sending me that in an email, just give me the date and the time that you want me there, and I'll be there, okay?
Question, Madam President.
September 30th, 4:30.
Mr. Ainsworth, in regards to these potential unpaid rentals, is it possible to apply interest or a late charge or a late fee onto those costs?
So can you repeat it, Ms. Clark? I heard it in regards to the unpaid rentals, that's all about, I can hear it. We can, yes, sir, we can definitely charge a late fee. And I don't know if it's a scenario, I really don't know the scenario. I don't know if they didn't get notice or they did get notice and just avoided us. I just don't really know. But if you tell me to charge a late fee, then y'all let me know. I'd like to get the letter out, and I'd like to get the list of just the people that basically we definitely know that haven't paid, and then work from that list, and then y'all tell me what kind of late fee you want to charge. And like I said, I don't know if it's a matter of they got a letter and they avoided paying, or they didn't get a notice at all. I just really don't know. And to be honest with you, with that list of people, you may have half of them that produce receipts, or you may have half of them that produce bank statements that we just simply didn't find. So I kind of want to narrow that list down a little bit. And hopefully we can do that and we can get all those monies collected. But if you tell me to charge a late fee, then let me know what that amount is, and we'll do so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ainsworth.
Okay, y'all have a good rest of the meeting, and thanks for your patience and handling it this way, okay?
All right. Dr. Pulley.
Approval of plan for mastery of content for Carnegie Unit courses. On June 11, 2020, the Mississippi Department of Education requested an additional 1-year suspension of the minimum of 140 hours of instruction required for each Carnegie unit of credit offered, and 70 hours for each 1/2 unit offered for the 2020-2021 school year. This suspension will allow districts flexibility within their reentry plans and scheduling options in an effort to comply with the Mississippi Department of Health and CDC guidelines as a result of the ongoing impact of COVID-19 during the 2020-2021 school year. The MDE further stated that each district shall be required to develop a plan to ensure the mastery of content for each Carnegie unit awarded in lieu of meeting the 140-hour requirement for one Carnegie unit awarded and 70 hours for each 1/2 unit awarded. The plan shall be approved by the local school board and posted on the district's website no later than September 30th, 2020. Attached is GLCSD's plan. The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends school board approval of the plan for mastery of content for Carnegie units.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the plan for mastery of content for Carnegie units.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Thank you. It has been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Approval of board policy revision, BBBE, board member compensation and expenses. Ms. Miller.
Attorney Pulley, if you could please address the board with the new language that is stating, please.
Board members, I will read the pertinent language. I won't read the entire policy, even though we have it printed there, but I will read the pertinent language as it relates to what we're revising. Under refreshments/meals at board meeting, when attending meetings of the board and mandatory training sessions, the GLCSD board members, along with the board attorney, superintendent's executive assistant, and the chief financial officer, may be provided refreshments and or a meal when such is deemed necessary to prevent major interruptions to the board meeting or training session. The chief financial officer may be provided refreshments and or a meal if he or she is in attendance for the entire meeting. As stated in an Attorney General's opinion dated July 30, 1999 to State Auditor Phil Bryant, a meal may be provided in lieu of reimbursement in order to avoid disruption of business if the board determines that such is a necessary and reasonable expense of the meeting. The State Department of Finance and Administration defines the reimbursement amount for school board meals.
Thank you, Mr. Pulley. Dr. Pulley.
The school board requests approval to suspend board policy BDC, board policy adoption, in order to immediately approve the revision of board policy BBBE, board member compensation and expenses.
Chair will entertain a motion to suspend board policy BDC, board policy adoption, in order to immediately approve the revision of board policy BBBE, board member compensation and expenses.
So move.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Approval for work session with MSBA. Ms. Miller.
Chair will entertain, Chair would like to make a motion for, the board and the superintendent to have a workshop training with MSBA at a later date when we come together, maybe at our next, work session, to collaborate with each other with our schedules to see when it could be. So I'm asking for, an approval to have the workshop. So I'm making a motion.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Approval of 2020-2021 Transportation Department and Maintenance Department salary scales. Attached are the 2020-2021 Transportation Department and Maintenance Department salary scales.
Any questions?
I have a question. Dr. Pulley, did this scale change from last year?
No, ma'am, not according to Mr. Johnson. No, ma'am.
I think the only thing, it may have some salaries eliminated. I want to say it may have been a foreman that we never hired and a couple more. That may not been on there, but for
But I know
the
the number didn't
compensation,
change.
they didn't change.
Dr. Pulley.
The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends that the school board approve the 2020-2021 Transportation Department and Maintenance Department salary scales.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2020-2021 Transportation Department and Maintenance Department salary scales.
So move.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Approval of reverse auction bid, Mr. Johnson.
The Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District requests approval of the following reverse auction bid for the repair servicing of AC units. And note that only one bid was submitted, and the board may choose to reject the bid if deemed fit. What I have attached for you is the current year's bid and a comparison of last year's bid. At the request of the board at the past work session, we were able to negotiate with the vendor, and you will see that negotiated price of $87 per man hour.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Dr. Pulley.
The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends that the school board approve the following reverse auction bids: AC unit servicing bid, hourly rate in the event of a required repair, upchurch services at $87 per man hour.
Question, Madam President.
Yes.
Dr. Pulley, in regards to the price that's indicated for service of all units, how's that price calculated, and was that also renegotiated?
We did not choose. We did not choose. That's not.
Okay, so we're only looking at the hourly rate. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the following reverse auction bids: AC unit servicing bid, hourly rate in the event of a required repair upchurch services at $87 per man hour.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Approval of psychometrists for independent evaluations. In accordance with the rules and regulations of IDEA, the Special Education Department evaluates and provides evaluation information as well as eligibility results to parents. Parents who disagree with the results reserve the right to request an independent educational evaluation. For the fiscal year of 2020-2021, the Special Education Department enlists the services of Nicole Jackson as an independent evaluator. One, if I'm not mistaken. Two, we have two.
Are they under the same type of contract?
Well, they are actually, go ahead.
So this is a contract for those, or she's trying to, or this is a
She independent.
independent here? Okay, so are the other ones, are they employed by the district?
Yes, ma'am.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve to enlist the services of Nicole Jackson as an independent evaluator as required by the Office of Special Ed to ensure the rules and regulations of IDEA.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Request for transfer for employees' children for 2020-2021. Attached is a list of children whose parents are district employees. These employees live outside the school district or previously lived outside the school district before consolidation and have requested permission to transfer their children into the district or permission to allow their children to continue attending the school they were previously registered at for the 2020-2021 school year. The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends school board approval of the request on the attached list for transfers of district employees' children into the school district for the 2020-2021 school year.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request on the attached list for transfer of district employees' children into the school district for the 2020-2021 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Then motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Approval to accept face mask donation, Mr. Johnson.
The Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District is requesting approval to accept a donation of 750 face masks for Threadgill Elementary from the Mississippi Network for Cancer Control and Prevention and the Fannie Lou Hamer Cancer Foundation in partnership with the Mississippi State Department of Health, Love Your Melon Incorporated, and the Greenwood Community and Recreation Center. And you can see an attached email that the request was made from Threadgill's elementary principal.
The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends school board approval to accept a donation of 750 face masks for Threadgill Elementary from Mississippi Network for Cancer Control and Prevention and the Fannie Lou Hamer Cancer Foundation in partnership with the Mississippi State Department of Health, Love Your Melon Incorporated, Greenwood Community and Recreation Center Incorporated.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve to accept a donation of $750 for face masks for Threadgill Elementary from Mississippi Network for Cancer Control and Prevention and the Fannie Lou Hamer Cancer Foundation in partnership with the Mississippi State Department of Health, Love Your Melon Incorporated, Greenwood Community and Recreation Center Incorporated.
Madam President, 750 face masks and not
Oh,
dollars. You're
I'm
fine.
sorry,
You're fine.
750 face masks.
So
I'm sorry.
moved.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Monthly financial reports, Mrs. Washington.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Attached are
financial statements for the month ending on August 31st, 2020. The following reports are attached: your cash balance report, fund balance report, budget status report, cash flow statement, and also your claim docket. Expenditures to date are within budgeted amounts. Cash balance on hand are sufficient to cover immediate and current projected expenses. The claim docket has been reviewed and approved by the superintendent. Does the board have any questions?
Is the answer that I asked you, in work session, is it on here?
Yes.
What page is that?
You should have a new detail audit. So I can't tell you page, so look for that claim docket number and I can give that to you as well.
That's okay, I'll look after it. You say it's on here.
It's on here. It's
Any other question?
I have a question. Trying to find the page. Ms. Washington.
Yes.
Claim number 946632 on page 42. Do you know when that occurred? On page 41, 946632.
It was back in November, and we don't know exactly what happened with him not, his report and stuff not turned in time, but that's when it happened.
Nine four six three five. I'm not sure the page. I just wrote it. Oh, it looks like I'm short a number.
Arthur Glick.
Uh-huh.
It's when the service was provided.
Is that for downtown?
No, the 825?
It's for the, drawing up of the Bankston roof project that they're doing, the two roofs at Bankston.
Any other question? Dr. Fuller?
The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends that the school board approve the August financial reports and approve the payment of claims 946488 through 946668 for GLCSD.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the August financial reports and approve the payment of claims 946488 through 946668 for GLCSD.
Second.
Then, moved and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Consent agenda. Attached are items on the consent agenda. Minutes of regular board meeting of Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. Minutes of the special call board meeting of Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. Minutes of the special call board meeting of Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. Informational agenda, department updates. School board, on this evening, we do have 4 individuals here who have been really working extremely hard with our teachers and our administrators to implement virtual learning and to monitor this for our district. And they will come at...
Madam President, consent agenda needs to be approved, right?
Right.
Oh,
I have a question prior to. On page 163 of the consent agenda, and again, just a point of clarity, at the bottom of the page, where we discussed the school bond issues as a board, I would just like to point out that according to the survey that was shared with us by, I believe, Mr. Johnson some time ago, in response from the community regarding their preference for a new school, 66% of those respondents suggested that they supported phase 1 of the proposal, which was a lower and upper elementary school, followed by a middle school and a high school. just a point of clarity for the board.
Repeat that one more time.
The survey that was sent out or provided by the school district, Mr. Johnson did provide that to the board. That survey, the results of that survey showed that 66% of respondents supported phase one or option one, which was to have a lower elementary school and upper elementary school built first, followed by followed by a middle school, with the high school being last. Thank you, Madam Board Lady.
Go ahead.
Mr. Johnson, do you have a number on how many parents actually responded to the survey?
It was actually listed on that survey at the time that was printed. I'm not 100% sure. I think at that time it was about 291 respondents, but I'm not looking at it right now, so I don't take that number. It was around that figure.
Dr. Pulley.
The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends approval of the consent agenda.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed?
Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Pulley.
Okay, now, department updates. We do have 4 individuals here. They will, we can start from right to left. Mrs. Iris Hurt, our Chief of Elementary Education. And our chief was just come and provide brief updates on what's been going on since, we've gone virtual learning. Ms. Hurt. Yes, ma'am, you can come.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Hurt.
So in the elementary department, we've been busy trying to make sure that lessons are planned and implemented effectively, and trying to make sure that students are still learning in this new virtual situation that we're in. I like to say that I've been conducting classroom observations, and from those classroom observations, I've identified 7 sessions that will need to be conducted to make sure that things are where they need to be. And so what will happen is I'll train the instructional coaches, and the instructional coaches will in turn train the teachers. I spoke to Ms. Cation today, so she's okay with adding these topics to the sessions. And one of the things that we're going to work on is making sure that students are able to annotate the text in this virtual situation. Well, right now, they're only able to look at it online and not be able to annotate and show what they really know, show mastery of the standard through the actual text. So we've got to make that happen. We've identified a program that's free online called Cami. As a matter of fact, one of the instructional coaches identified it and brought it to my attention, so we played around with it in the curriculum office, Ms. Cushion, Ms. Hart, Ms. Daniels, and I, and we're going to make sure that coaches are trained, then teachers, but we want the students to be able to actually show mastery of the standard through the text rather than just being able to read and answer who, what, when, where, why, and how. We attended a session provided by MDE. Dr. Pulley wanted us to go to this session entitled MDE's Virtual Literacy Instructional Guide for K-5 Teachers. We came back today and trained the rest of the instructional coaches because the session actually filled up really quick, but we made sure that everybody was trained. Now we're getting ready to train the teachers on that. From our observations, we noticed that we need a little bit more support with writing to make sure that students are able to not just verbalize their learning, but able to write, because that is a part of the state assessment. So we're going to work on that, creating text-dependent questions. Not one, but 3 different types of writing will be assessed. So we're going to make sure that they're able to use racist, BME, and one other one, opinion, Oreo. for all different types of writing. We want that to be consistent from K through 6, so students won't be learning different writing strategies for every grade. We conducted a session on the MDE instructional planning guide last week, and that session ended up being really effective. Ms. Woods conducted a session to make sure that teachers are able to align the EDI format with the Canvas format, so there won't be just two different things that they're looking at, and so it would also align with the lesson plan template, and we thought that was effective. There were some teachers who have asked for some individualized training, and we're going to supply that as well. We're looking to do more sessions in the math department. Math has been carrying us for a while, so we want to make sure that those numbers don't fall. So we're getting ready to administer the K readiness assessment and an I-ready diagnostic that we've been doing every year, so it's still going to continue. Also, MDE has waived the good cause exemptions for 2021, and that's because the kids didn't have to take the test at the end of the year last year. We've also been providing supports to all of the elementary schools and to include the elementary school that I was assigned to. So things are going well in the elementary department. That's my update.
Question, Ms. Hurd, if I may, Dr. Clue. First, let me say, I appreciate the ongoing evaluation. I think sometimes we forget that that's certainly needed, so kudos for that.
Yes,
But as an educator, how comfortable are you with the quality of education and instruction to a degree that our small children are receiving at this point?
You know, we had a conversation about that with the instructional coaches, and honestly, Dr. Bailey, I would think that you were a fly on the wall with that question, because we were talking about the kindergarten and second grade students, how they're able to function or not for that long on the platform for 75 minutes. So we meet with the coaches twice a month, but we're gonna have an additional meeting next Tuesday, because we gotta go out and find ways that we can keep kids actively engaged and not just to sit and listen, because you know, I don't mind telling you, I'm 45. It's hard for me to sit there and just look, listen. I've got to be actively engaged. But now I can say that a lot of the teachers have been implementing Move to Learn. And to get back to answering your question, they're doing well, but there are some different things I would like to see, especially concerning K2. So we're focusing on K2 now, and 3-6 will be next. But I was excited to hear that Ms. Gary and all the instructional coaches and we were on the same page. So we're going to go back, meet again next Tuesday, and decide on a lesson that we may have to create to share with the teachers, to show them how we can do different things, even if it comes down to independent practice. They don't have to just do it at home. Some of those things can be done in the class while they're actually on the site or logged in to WebEx and just complete it, and then actually be able to show using the EDI strategy with those whiteboards. So we may have to even get to a point of creating some whiteboards, but it's been looking really good, but there are some things that we know we've got to work on.
Thank you much.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
I know K2 is a very important age group.
Yes, ma'am.
So how have we supported parents
Okay.
in this?
So there have been several different parent meetings for parents. It's time now for us to start doing some of the same things that we did last year, which is modeling some of those strategies that kids can do. We also looked at a plan that was submitted this summer, which is an at-home learning plan. So parents it won't be the lesson plan, but it will be the activities that kids need to complete for each week. And Dr. Pulley shared that with us this summer. We're going to make sure we get that done. So we're at a point now where we're ready to start bringing, having more meetings with them regarding content. And I guess I forgot to share too that we're looking forward to having the kids read more. So, and I'm talking about actual, books. So the parents are gonna know what books we're reading and what they need to do to support that. We're gonna give them the questions to ask just to engage kids in the conversation. But we're actually starting that process, and we're gonna move forward with it and get some updates on how it's going.
I do know that there has been some talk in the community about parents being able to cope at that level. with children. I don't know if parents does not want their child to do well at any level, but that level is key.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to know if the district can provide some support for parents at that level, that K2, pre-K2 level. In addition to, you mentioned K2 functions earlier. So can you elaborate on what you meant by K2 functions?
K2 function, what did I say about that?
I think you were discussing the functionality of the teachers assisting the children
Okay, yeah. So,
virtual.
yes, ma'am. Because the instructional period in those classes is 75 to 90 minutes, okay? So the goal is that teachers will understand that in implementing EDI, it's not all about lecture. We want to see more than lecture. Those kids in K through 2 learn really well with videos. So we're going to be asking them to include some learning videos, especially from Scholastic. We're going to be asking them to give the kids some hands-on activities. As a matter of fact, an instructional coach was texting me a little while ago, and she emailed me some manipulatives, like they're getting ready to work on money. And she gave me the template so that we're going to laminate that money and send it home. We just want more hands-on active engagement in the session rather than just kids sitting there having to listen. Yes,
And one more point of clarity. Mrs. Hurt, could you please clarify what you mean by waive good cause exemption?
okay, so after kids took the 3rd grade gate, if they failed the test, they were given, and if they qualified for an exemption, they could go on to the next grade with that exemption, and there are actually 5 exemptions, and the first one is for EL students. So if an EL student failed the test and he has been in the program for less than 2 years, he could go on with good cause exemption A. For good cause exemption B, that's for students who are on IEPs, and if those IEPs are documented and they fail the test, they could go on good cause exemption B. On good cause exemption C, that's for IEP and 504 students with 2 years of remediation, but still exhibit reading deficiencies. They could go on with good cause exemption C. Good cause exemption D would mean that a kid has failed the first test, but they passed maybe with the first retest or the second retest. They would go on with good cause exemption D. And for good cause exemption E, that's for students who have 2 or more years of documented intervention. So I may have failed a test, but teachers have been intervening with me, so I could go on. And also, if a kid who failed kindergarten through 3rd grade twice, doesn't have to be consecutive, but just 2 failures, they could also go on. So for kids who failed the test, we have exemptions that could help them pass on without having to pass the test, unless it was exemption D, where they passed one of the retests.
One more question. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please spell out EDI?
EDI, that's an explicit direct instruction model. So the goal is that teachers will implement that model and not leave out important steps. Teachers will be able to introduce the lesson. After they introduce the lesson, activate prior knowledge, vocabulary, then they'll do direct instruction, actually teach the skill, then guided practice. We're going to practice the skill, close the lesson up. And I think I inverted the closure, then will come to independent practice. And that's similar to Madeline Hunter, which we used to. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Hurd, for being so knowledgeable. I heard so many great things about pre-K and kindergarten, but I want to know, like, how the parents gonna know when to come and get manipulatives, or how do you all plan to get it to them?
You know, we haven't gotten that far yet. I could sit here and just try to make up something.
Don't
but
do that.
I'm trying to.
Now let me help Ms.
Jill, so I tell you the truth.
Let me help Ms. Hurd.
Thank you, Dr. Cook.
We did, in our conversations about the emergency instructional packets, and in talking with some principals, and after listening to our parents in our virtual parent meetings on last week, they expressed that, hey, our little ones need additional handouts, something that they can, they can see and work with. And so our principals have taken on the task and the staff members who are coming to work, they're taking that opportunity to print those packets or handouts, and then pretty much calling parents and saying, hey, we have these particular packets ready for this week, or we have these particular handouts ready. And then also, to add on to Mrs. Hurst's point, just pretty much making the post similar to what we did with Chromebook distribution. Parents came out and picked up Chromebooks without exposure to each other. So we have been talking about that, and they'll follow the similar Chromebook distribution on picking up resources.
And that's the same for manipulatives for pre-K and kindergarten?
Yes.
Ms. Hurd?
Ma'am.
Would you walk me through a typical day of one of the elementary students?
Okay, so that student would attend, like, let me speak to East Elementary, is that okay? So those students would attend ELA, math, science classes on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The ELA sessions are 75 minutes, but the math and science sessions are not, they're 50 minutes. Then on Tuesday and Thursday, those students would be assigned to interventions, PE, and, did I say social studies? Social studies, yeah, social studies. So a typical day would look like, okay, ours at 3rd grade. I'm gonna log into my first class at 8 o'clock. And I'm gonna get breaks throughout that class. Then at the end of that class, I'm gonna log into maybe my math class for 50 minutes, get a break. Then I'll go to lunch, come back, get one more class, and then I'm going home. Well, I'm logging off for the rest of the day and then do independent learning at the end of the day. Did that answer it, Ms. Lewis?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I got one. Now this is not a question, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I was just listening to her saying about the pre-K through 1. At some point, we're gonna have to ease kids back into school, and I just wanna know how we consider letting the pre-K 1 be the group that we ease back in, because that's the group that really struggling at home. And I wasn't gonna bring this up in work session. I would like to see pre-K 1 school opened up, not right now, but at some point, because that's the problem I'm talking about. If I had a kindergarten or 1st grade and got to work and they got, even if the parents, they at the age where they're just learning to work their way around a computer, and if they have a parent that hadn't done it, it's just a constant struggle. So I know we're gonna have to go back at some day. So I just consider that's the group we start with, I think it'll be a relief for the parents, and it'll also be a learning process for us.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt.
Mrs. Moore?
I'm sorry, I had to take this thing off. Good evening. Good evening. I am Miss Tanner Moore, and I am at Bankston Elementary now. And my task is a little bit different than these young ladies. I am with Mr. Stevens, and he has charged me with doing classroom observations. And I can honestly tell you that it was a challenge in the beginning. Each week, as school has progressed, I have seen the students come in and ease into what they need to do. The teachers, I can honestly commend, and I did in our staff meeting. They have been so patient. They have been so encouraging, just working with the students as well as their parents. They have been going above and beyond, trying to ensure that these students have what they need at the end of each day. Any comments or any recommendations that I do have, I do share them with the principal, and he in return shared them with the staff. I have given feedback to individual teachers, and I do let them know what I see and what can be improved upon, but that just was not my focus for the month of August. The month of August, I wanted to see them transition smoothly to ensure that these students are feeling comfortable with what is going on, because I know that it has been a challenge for us. This is different, especially when you have been teaching 20-plus years and now you're going in and you cannot have that hands-on approach with your students. You can't walk by them and be in close proximity. It is hard. And then looking at them on a screen and hearing parents in the background saying, come here for a minute, and they just get up and walk away from the screen, it is tough. And I have watched teachers deal with this on a day-to-day basis, and I can honestly tell you that they have done an amazing job. It is hard trying to tell a child to stay focused when there's a parent in the background talking to him or her, or there are parents sitting beside them, which I know with the smaller students, they need that. And our teachers have been encouraging. They have not had a problem with the parents sitting somewhere near you because you can see the shadow. You can see them walking back and forth, so we have just encouraged them, stay focused on the task at hand. Make sure that the kids are getting what they need. A lot of the screens at home are freezing up. A lot of the kids, when they're not following protocol that the district has set forth, the teachers are reiterating that, and that has been a plus for me. So each week, I just see that things are getting better. Are they perfect? No. This is new for all of us, and we have to constantly remind each other and pay attention to the vision and the mission of what this district stands for. We are here to unify and to educate and to prepare all of our students. We have to remember our whole, everything, 2020 vision. We're not perfect. And we have to let parents know we are learning just as you all are. So Mr. Stevens and Ms. Knox has done an amazing job just having me on board. And I told them that I'm here for whatever needs that they have. I'm here to help out. I want to ensure that these kids are getting a quality education just as the district has stated.
So with your observations, how long are your
I
observations?
stay in the classroom from beginning to the end.
So when you say classroom, every classroom you have
I
some
go to
designated-
about 4 or 5 a day up until 12 o'clock. And pretty much they're gone. We do have, I know one teacher, no, there are 2. They actually do extended tutorial sessions from 12 to 3:15. Miss Sally is actually letting her students know, I need you all to come back. I need you to come back to receive whatever help that it is, and I just commend her for that because it's not something that she has to do. I do hold classes when the teachers need to step away, if they just have an emergency or they need to go to the restroom, what have you. We're there to help. If we need to step in and do whatever we need to do, we do it. I'm not comfortable with math and numbers. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I tell anybody that I'm not ashamed. But I would stand in a math class and I would act like I'm learning and do them fingers and figures and everything else. Yeah, I fully
So
know.
you have a rotation schedule.
Pretty much, we do, but I'm in there from 8 o'clock until classes are over. And then we do have meetings with our teachers.
So what are your steps when a child gets kicked out of Canvas? Like, what are the steps to the parents contacting the school, or what do they do when they
Well,
get
what has
kicked out?
happened when we have had problems with either the computers or the internet freezing up on a child, I know Miss Adam Walker, she will write down notes and she will call those parents, which I didn't even have to say, she just did it. And now what she has put in place is she has provided for them to receive their work through their email. So she's constantly telling them, make sure you check your email. Just don't come and sign on. Check your email daily so that you will have the work. A lot of times when there are handouts or when there's work that you're not right there in front of your children, you can't do that hands-on work. She actually sends the link through the email for the parents to also have in front of them.
So Ms. Moore, how easy is it to transition from, like Ms. Hurt said, on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, to go from ELA to math?
It's easy
for the
for
smaller
the
kids.
I'm going to be honest, I have been mostly in the upper grade levels. I did go to a 2nd grade class a couple of times. Ms. Knox and Mr. Stevens are in pretty much all of them. I have been with the pretty much 4th through 6th grade, and they're not having a whole lot of problems. A lot of times when you see them transition from one, maybe one of the biggest problems is them being on time in the morning and making sure that they're sitting up and they're actually focused. Once that's done, the teachers let them know it is time for you now to transition to Mr. Griffin's class. It's time for you now to, I'll see you at 11 o'clock. You know, they're letting them know exactly where they need to go and what they need to do. And parents will chime in a lot of times and ask them, so what do we need to do? I'm confused with this. and the teachers would take the time to actually help them. So I think this month just has been a whole learning experience for us all, and we're still learning. We're not there yet. We're still in this together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Daniels?
Good evening. I've had the privilege of observing, and that's one of the biggest things that I do, observing pre-K through 12th grade. So I may go from Greenwood High to Bankston. And what I've noticed is that the children are transitioning well. The younger ones, they do well with video. They are trying really hard, and they will ask questions, and they will post things to the chat, so they're doing really well. The things that we've been working on are, I've been procuring resources for online. We have 2 courses that are new to the district this year. One is Problems in American Democracy and a Marine and Aquatic Science. And we were having trouble finding resources for those, but as of today, I did find resources for Marine and Aquatic Science, and we did find things for Problems in American Democracy. Both classes they're high school classes, and they are 11th and 12th grade classes. And I did find some with a lot of video, a lot of other resources. Also, we've done Canvas training for teachers, because some of the teachers aren't there yet. And what we found is that if we show them how to put a link in there, they can do it. And somebody asked about how easy is it to transition from one class to another. A lot of the teachers have put on their homepage, if you come to me, you go to Ms. Robinson next, you go to Ms. Tanner next. Well, you can just click in one email or one place, you can click from one to the other. So the kids don't have to keep going finding emails. It's all in one place. You go back to that one and you can go to your next class. So it's a pretty easy transition, and I did notice that today. And a lot of times when I see things that are going well in one class, I will share it with another teacher and say, look, they were doing this, so this may be a good thing. Or they use this resource. Flash Math was one that I saw in a 3rd grade class, so I shared that with some other 3rd grade teachers. And that was a really good one. We've also been we did a PD on identifying and uploading resources for weeks 1, 2, and 3. And the teachers really appreciated that. And what we did learn during that particular PD, some teachers they were more versed with Canvas than others. So it turned into a learning session. And they were able to show other teachers how to do some things. So that worked out really well. We've been working I took a college and career readiness webinar. Like I said, I'm working with everything from pre-K to early college, high school. I did a webinar with early college and career readiness, and that's a new course as well. Resource packets, we're working on those. The emergency instructional packets, we're working on those. And I'm doing some collaborations with higher ed, with Valley, some with Mississippi State and Ole Miss. And what I'm doing with those is trying to see what they have virtually that they can share with us. We are also reviewing and revising. We work with the principals to review and revise their master schedules, because some of them need to take a little bit of time or tweak where the kids were in classes. So we did that early on. But most of my time is spent observing classes, providing feedback to the principal, providing feedback to Dr. Pulley, and then he provides feedback to the principals.
What percentage of teachers do you think we have that are just not comfortable with Canvas?
To be honest, probably about 15, 20%. Some of them, they will post assignments, and they can teach using WebEx or Google Classroom. But some of them are still, and I did do a PD, a PLC last week, and it was a really good one with some guys at LaFleur Elementary, 4th and 5th grade teachers. And one of the things that really helped was they spent an hour and 15 minutes of the PLC teaching each other what to do. And one of the things I heard that was really good, oh man, I'm gonna do that now, show me how to do it. So they're getting comfortable. They were not comfortable at first, to be honest, but every day they're getting better and better. And when they don't know something, they are not afraid to ask. So they're working with it. And a lot of times we've gone into class, some of the children can tell us better than we do. So we've seen that as well.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I have a question for you, Dr. Fuller. Oh, okay. Dr. Fuller, what is is there a possibility? I know that sometimes people are just not comfortable learning online, and I'm talking about maybe older teachers. So is there a possibility that a session could maybe occur on a Saturday morning? You know, for those not keeping in mind social distancing, you know, 5 maybe, if someone could come in and just train them. Because I know when you're not comfortable with something, it makes your job awful.
Now, one thing we are doing, each year we do spend, money on professional development. And so one thing that we're looking for now, and we've identified some consultants to assist us with this. As you stated, some individuals have, and as Ms. Daniels stated, some individuals have caught on, and some need that extra support. And so we have identified individuals who can assist us with this to provide additional training just to help teachers manage the virtual learning environment. You know, sometimes it's as I think Mrs. Tanner Moore mentioned, you know, if you've been teaching 15 to 20 years in the classroom and now I've been taken away to a computer, even if I have computer skills, a virtual classroom, you know, it takes some time to get that done. So I just wrote it down, and what we will do is, and I'll speak with Mr. Johnson, just brainstorming on how we could possibly do this. Of course, we want to do everything in our power to, and this room is large enough if we could do something like that, just to engage our teachers who are really struggling and just need that additional support. One thing that, in talking with the technology staff, is that what we're wanting to do, and Mr. Johnson was in on that conversation as well, even though we do have technology staff, what we want to do is also allow that technology staff member to have that key person in their school staff who has that rapport with those teachers and working with their colleagues to say, hey, you're the leader as it relates to virtual, facilitating the virtual learning environment through the system, not your classes per se, but just teaching me how to do it, you know. And sometimes that helps training the trainer, and then letting the teachers also lead those meetings, whether it's on Saturday, whether it's after students' classes are over from 1:30 to 3:30. And so I did write that note down, and we can brainstorm on how we can possibly do that. It's not out of the question. We just have to figure out how to be as safe as possible while we do it.
To note on that, can you to note on that, can it be mandatory? I mean, by us going within a month, we already should notice teachers that struggling, right? So should we make those ones that struggle come do it? If we make it mandatory, we can do it at 1 to 3:30 because actually they still on our clock anyway.
That's right.
I just hate to do it on a great idea Ms. Lewis got, but I don't want the ones that are show up be the ones that know, and the ones that don't know be the same ones not show up.
What we've done in curriculum, we've noticed as we go into the classrooms, you can see everyone's Canvas page and ones that have uploaded assignments. So we've started to pair those, and we had a conversation yesterday, or day before yesterday, as a matter of fact, about how we could pair and which teachers were really good at it. And we noticed that at each building, there were teachers that were really good. So we've started to pair them already, and we planned some PD for those, some small PDs where maybe today you learn to make sure that your homepage is set up correctly. The next day you may learn how to do some links, because one of the things with the training, we did notice that we got a lot of information at one time. And if you were not tech savvy, there was a lot and you just shut down. Because the very first training I got, I shut down. And I'm learning a little bit at a time, just a little bit at a time. And what I've done is I've looked at different pages and I'll email the teachers, look, this is Ms. Daniels, I need a tutorial. So I can go back and teach some other teachers, because a lot of them know different stuff. Some of them have links where if you click this link, it gives you math manipulators. If you click this link, it gives you, if you need counseling, it gives you some things there. So those links are really good for those, but most of them are struggling with just putting it out there, because we had a big PD, but I think an hour max, but they need to be hands-on with the computer right there, with somebody showing them, okay, this is where you put this is how you copy and paste, because it's not that simple. But we have had conversations, but that's Ms. Patience bailiwick, so I just leave it to her, but I just wanted to put that out there that we do see some strugglers, and we are addressing it as a team.
Now, I know we talked about struggling teachers and providing that peer support for our teachers, but in the board speaking, being trying to be, well, wanting to be transparent here. So, in your observation of the pre-kindergarten, K-1, not even second grade, I noticed you stated earlier when you said students are posting to chat or posting assignments. Have you noticed any stress level among parents with children that young doing those type of functions on the computer?
There are some. And I was in a classroom today, but it was third grade, I believe. But the teacher was really good about showing her screen, and she had up what the students could see. And she said, now, press this button, and she went really slow. And one of the parents said, okay, I got it now. But it wasn't for her to get, but at least she got it. But I think the child had it. But the parent needed to know how to get to different stuff. But what I have seen is a lot of grandmas, a whole lot of grandmothers sitting in the background, and we need to give kudos to them, because they are soldiers and they are pushing the kids, but they are the ones that are babysitting, and that's exactly what it is. The babysitting, and they're making sure that the kids go through this. So I think a parent, I don't think they'll come to a parent training. We just need to somehow let them know that we really appreciate them, we see you, and we really appreciate you giving us that support, because if nothing else, they're making the kids sit there and pay attention.
So have you observed stressors among those children?
They're busy, yes, and you can see they can sit there for maybe 15 minutes max, and they need to move. So we did discuss with the teachers where they need to do, and I've seen this in classes where, okay class, let's do 2 or 3 jumping jacks, and they sit back down. So they take those little incremental breaks, and it does work. Some of the teachers need to know that, so we're emailing and going back in to let some of the teachers know. When we see something that's working really well in one class, we make sure that we share that with the others. And when we do another PD or PLC, we let that teacher lead the PLC. Well, let's show them what you're doing. So in the end, some of the classes, the PLCs are being recorded. So we can share that with the PLC, not recording the classes, but PLCs where we become the student, and the teacher will teach how she teaches the kids. She'll teach that particular strategy to us as students.
How often do those children break?
It depends on the teacher.
K-1, how often do they break?
It depends on the teacher. I've seen teachers break every 20 minutes, or they will gauge the breaks by the twitching, and they'll say that they can see that it's time for a break. But we do, there's not a standard, because it depends on what they're doing. Sometimes they can pay a lot of attention, but when they break the lesson up to, let's do this, let's do a video here, it does help. It does help. But sometimes they get antsy, and you can tell, okay, it's time for a break. And they'll stop for a break, and they can come back. So, and that's not just with the pre-K and K, that's all the way up to 7th and 8th grade. I've seen it in all of them, they get a little antsy. But like Ms. Hurt said, the 75 minutes, we are gonna have to revisit that to see how we can break those 75 minutes up, to make sure they're getting the number of minutes that they need. But at the same time, even if you're there for 75 minutes, but you could only pay attention for 20, that's really not a good thing.
Ms. Daniels, thank you for this information that you're sharing. And I think you hit on a very key point about grandmama and them. I would assume they're doing an awesome job. For me, simply trying is without question doing an awesome job. But Dr. Pulley, just speaking to that and a point that Ms. Lewis made, is it possible to maybe look at after hours or on the weekend? We talked about training for teachers, but our parents need some type of training as well. If it's going to the local high school, to the gymnasium or the cafeteria, maybe limiting the number of people that can come in, having 1 or 2 sessions if they are needed. You know, and just have the students bring the Chromebook with the hotspot, and maybe our tech department could provide some hands-on support. And of course, you know, observing CDC guidelines and the taking of temperatures and things like that upon entering the facility, but just a suggestion. And thank you, Ms. Daniel.
Yes, sir.
And I agree with, Mr. Williams as well, you know, if it could be that 1:30 to 3:30 or 1 to 3 or whatever, because if they supposed to be at school anyway, you can just utilize that time.
And I can tell you pretty much, they're in some meetings from 1:30 to 3:30, whether it's grade level meetings, whether it's subject area meetings, meeting together, whether it's the principal meeting with his or her faculty, whether it's the curriculum team meeting with a certain group of individuals, but they are. So we try to maximize their time as much as possible. Ms. Hart.
Like you got Miss Hart from Ita Bena, she can go on down there at 1:30 to 3:30 and help out.
That's no problem. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just to reiterate some things that were spoken, we've been working together as a curriculum team to just make the very best experience for our students and our teachers, and try not to overwhelm the teachers. But some of the things that have been happening, basically, we've been doing training on Canvas protocols. Basically, we met here with the principals, and Dr. Pulley let us meet with the principals, and we discussed with them so that they could discuss with their teachers. We talked about the number of discussion questions because we didn't want kids to be overwhelmed, and so we created, along with the principals, some protocols for assignments and things in Canvas, such as the discussion questions, the number of assignments to give a day, and things of that nature. We also placed all the pacing guides on the website, and from no matter where they go, under Office of Leadership and Academics and Leadership, they can access all pacing guides. We also work to put for every subject area links, instructional resources, teaching strategies, and activities. So if they click on ELA, they're going to have all of the links for instructional resources, for teaching activities and strategies. And these are things that we have set and vetted. And I mean, even on Saturday mornings from 8 to 5, 8 to 6, we've said and actually gone through the links to make sure these are resources that they can use in a virtual environment. Because what works in the traditional environment, paper, pencil, they need it, teachers need resources that they can use to engage the students in the virtual learning environment. So we have made sure that we have put those resources out there for the teachers to use, different teaching strategies, because like someone mentioned earlier, teachers aren't used to teaching in a virtual environment. So we have put links on there to give them support on their own if when they were sitting at home to see how a teacher teaches in a virtual environment. If I'm teaching fractions, how can I teach this in the virtual environment, engage the students, and make it interesting? So we are providing that for them on the district website. Also, I've been working with teachers, I think as Ms. Hurt mentioned, making sure the teachers understand how to follow the explicit direct instruction lesson line, doing instruction and keeping the students engaged and using those engagement norms. During my observations, what I started out doing is I've been spending the entire class period in the subject area classes because I'm of the thought of mine that we are going to test in April and May. So I need to make sure that those students who are in classes where they're going to have to sit for a test, I I need to make sure that the instruction that is being delivered is going to prepare them for that test. And so in doing that, we do have some new teachers, and then we have some teachers who, it was like they were born to teach in the virtual environment, and they have some engaging classes. Their classes know, and I'm just gonna call it like Ms. Bishop. Ms. Bishop teaches Algebra 1, and Ms. Bishop's class is engaging. She still implements her EDI strategies. The kids participate in the chats. When they have to respond to her, they have to respond in the chat. So she still have her discussions, and they have their discussions in the chat. So her class, when she's teaching, she teaches as though they're all sitting in the classroom, and I was very impressed with that. So one of the things that I've been doing as I observe is making note of teachers who are proficient with the online teaching platform and those who are struggling. And there are sometimes, if it's something that needs to be addressed right then, I may text the principal or my instructional coach and ask them to join in on that class so we can have a discussion about where that teacher needs assistance. But in doing that, we're able to, it's one thing for us, I can hold the PD and go through a form, but for some teachers, they may say, well, she doesn't teach, so she doesn't understand what I'm trying to say. So what we're doing, and what Ms. Patient, she's not here, but she's planned the PD sessions, and we're gonna actually have, like for Algebra 1, I've asked her to let Ms. Bishop work with the Algebra 1 teachers. So Ms. Bishop can show them what she's doing in her classroom. And so when they ask the question, she's able to tell them, well, this is where you go, and this is how I got this. And they build that camaraderie and the collaboration. Now they know, well, when I need to do this, I can go to Ms. Bishop. So it's helping them because they no longer meet face to face. So we still need to have the teachers connected. So one of the things, like, we have identified those teachers who are doing it and doing it well, and we're having them lead the PD sessions while we sit in and, you know, help facilitate. But we wanted them to lead, show what they do in their class, how they do it, and that way those teachers can see, okay, it can be done. Because I don't think any teacher wants to do poorly. They want to do well. And in this new environment, like I think someone mentioned, is stressed and they're scared. But for those teachers, and we had to turn in a report, and I don't have the exact numbers because I've been doing a lot of reports, but we actually had to report to MDE as a part of their report that Dr. Pulley had to turn in. Some of the information we had to gather from the principals and the teachers is the percentage of teachers who are advanced with online learning, those who are struggling, and I think it was those who were, it was
Beginning.
beginning. So we do have an idea from those principals how many on each campus, how many teachers are struggling, how many teachers are proficient, and how many teachers are beginning. And with that information, it has allowed us as a team to say, okay, we need to be, if we have, like I think one said, all of them were beginning. So that school needs extra help because that means someone from somewhere else has to assist them. We have to all assist them. I'm not necessarily elementary, but if elementary is proud to help me, then we're all going to elementary to make sure that those teachers receive that support. The other thing we're working on is we have our dual enrollment. The students started this week. They are waiting for textbooks. Teacher emailed today, and we have 24 who are enrolled at Valley, and we have 74 that's enrolled at MDCC. I will say that this year our numbers are down, and that's mainly because the counselors aren't able to put their hands on them. They made a lot of phone calls, trying to get the students to actually turn the information back in. And so we're still going to work on it and learn from this semester what we need to do next semester, even if we have to put our masks on and go knock on the door. Because if the parents don't know, and these are seniors, juniors and seniors, and if the parents, if the kids don't take that to the parents, and even though the LaFleur and Elsie counselor has already started their senior meetings with the parents and students, so like I told them, we're just gonna have to just put that out there more to the parents and tell them about the benefits of dual enrollment and how it saves them economically when the students go to college, to encourage the students to enroll in dual enrollment. Because last year we did have over 100, and so we want to keep that number for dual enrollment. Next week I'll be meeting with MDE, Mississippi State, and MDCC. We're working on the application for early college high school, and it was decided that it would be more beneficial to the most students if we started with the early college high school at MDCC as opposed to Valley, and we're going to look at.
I'm waiting on this explanation.
Dr. Bailey.
And we want to work with Valley with middle college high school. But first we need to get through this process, and there will be people there because Ms. LaShawn Brooks she works with Ms. Daniels and I in different programs and partnering with Valley. But right now we're working on the early college high school application, and we hope to see that come to fruition. And there are a lot of things, but those are the most important.
Dr. Pulley, so did y'all put about dual enrollment on Facebook?
Yes,
Or the
ma'am.
district webpage?
And it's pretty much as what Ms. Hart mentioned, and just from being on high school campus, you almost have to go and get them and say, hey, this is why this is important. This is and that's not a bad idea, Ms. Hart, for next semester. But it is very beneficial for our students, and because the district pays for those courses and pays for those textbooks. And so we definitely, encourage them as much as possible. But we do know that because we've been out, we do attribute that to some decreases in the number.
Because the counselors, they sent emails to all the students who qualified, and all they had to do, was fill in. They constantly sent the emails out. They, we like to say, we put it on the website, and only a few filled them out. And hopefully, since we know now that they're not going to follow through, because some seniors want their free time, and but we just need to get them to understand that this is very, very beneficial to.
Can you tell me how long are the tests for Biology 1, Algebra 1, English 2, and U.S. History? Like when they actually sit and take a test, how long are those tests?
One is 100, I don't want to say it wrong, but I know one is like 175 minutes. One is about 2.5 to 3 hours at the most. And then on English, they break it up into 2 separate days.
Okay. And I want to know that because it's something that you said that triggered it to me. It's just good that they're being disciplined enough to be able to sit for a certain amount of time, because children have to be disciplined.
Right.
Okay.
So Ms. Hart, is it possible, I know you spoke about Ms. Bishop as being an effective teacher. Is it possible, where you might have a teacher who's having issues, maybe pop into Ms. Bishop's class and peer observe?
Now, we used to do that on the traditional, and because, principals and teachers and everyone is getting used to this new, way of teaching and learning, we haven't approached that yet. Now, I will say, Mr. Russell, he does have, let's say, for instance, English, math, science, and social studies is taught on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But those teachers on Tuesday and Thursday who may be struggling or just, he has those teachers sitting in other teachers' classes. You know, they come in, you can see them in the classroom observing those classes as well. So I will say Mr. Russell has somewhat started that process already, but so far that's the only school that I've seen that happen. Not, and it's a good idea, but we don't want to put too much on them at one time. So because I'm effective, I'm learning also, and I'm scared. So we don't want to put too much pressure on that teacher to be trying to train someone else. So when we see them struggling, there are enough of us and assistant principals who have expertise in those areas where we can be the ones who go in and work with those teachers. So, but we will take that into consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Hart.
Thank you, Ms. Hall.
My bad. When it comes to dual enrollment, like, you have to be a senior or how?
Yeah, you can be a junior or a senior.
Okay.
And if you're taking the principals, the principals decide which course they want the university, college or university to offer. And but if it's English and Algebra 1, they have to have a certain ACT score and a certain grade point average. For all other courses, they just need to have a 3.0 grade point average.
My next question is, with the high school, college deal that you're doing with MDCC, right?
Yes.
I asked this question earlier because I had a student that got caught up in this. When say that student graduated from high school with 30-some hours of college credits, right? That's, from what I'm hearing, I want you to check, that student will not be allowed to get a scholarship because that student wouldn't be considered a freshman.
Now, and that's probably true, but with the program with the early college high school with MDCC, it's a little different from doing early college high school with the university. At the community college, when they do the early college high school, they graduate with an associate degree and they graduate with a high school diploma. So they are no longer a first year freshman. They graduate as a junior going into a junior year of college. Whereas at MVSU, with early college high school, they can get up to 30 to 60 college hours. So then, they go in to college as a possible junior they'll be a junior at that point,
So
30 hours. So they won't qualify as a freshman because they're not, they're a junior.
So when a child graduates with an associate, the only thing they'll be able to get for a scholarship-wise is rank for a scholarship.
Is what?
For a scholarship.
Yes, probably.
Only thing I'm worried about, a parent understanding that probably have a student with a 30 on the ACT, whatever GPA, they probably wouldn't qualify for a scholarship normally, that they would have a full ride somewhere.
Okay, well, this is the other caveat to that. Early college high school is just not for your top kids.
I mean, I understand that part.
Early college high school really is for the bubble kids and the middle of the road kids. Now, that's not to say that your top kids can apply and be accepted and can.
Okay.
But I think
for some people, they think when you say early college, high school, that means your salutatory, your top kids are going off to college. That's not really, to be honest with you, that's not really who the early college, high school is for. When you think about early college, high school, and the kids in community college and what community college offers, I can, if I'm interested in being a nurse, and MDCC has a nursing program, I can be in high school and I can be in college, and I'm going to be working my way through the nursing program. So when I graduate high school, I already graduate with my RN or LPN, and I can go to work. So we have to think of it in that term. So we're trying to address all kids. And then when I think about middle college, high school, then we think about some other things, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully, we're just going to try to get through with the early college, high school, because we want to reach as many kids as possible and provide them with as many opportunities as possible. So hopefully, prayerfully, our application process goes smoothly and it gets approved. But and then it'll come to you all. We're just in the talking and planning stage right now, but it'll ultimately come before the board for, and you all say yay and nay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hurt, Mrs. Moore, Mrs. Daniels, and Ms. Hart. We thank you all for your expertise, and we're glad you're on our team.
Personnel recommendations. Attached is a list of board policy, BJ.
That was for informational items only.
We are.
Yeah, we already did that.
Attached is a list of district personnel which requires board approval. Contracts will be issued as required.
Question, Madam President? It's not relating to this particular document, but personnel. At the work session, Dr. Brown did mention the hiring of 2 additional nurses. Since we're not in the traditional school setting, what are our medical professionals doing within the district?
They have been doing screenings, the required screenings for pre-K. They'll be doing those screenings for kindergarten, first grade, second and third as required, as well as monitoring and making sure that district protocols are being in place. And they also are doing the required reporting to the Mississippi Department of Health as it relates to COVID-19 cases.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Fuller,
Yes, ma'am.
on page 169, that first person, can you explain that position?
Okay, this person is is similar to a literacy coach, similar to it's a state position, but she's held this position for quite some time, probably almost 10 years maybe. And I think she goes over all over the state to provide trainings and support for teachers. And this is just a program that's just been in place for quite some time. And she applied for it, and because we're the home district, it's like we're the home site and where she receives the funding for it, receives the pay for it. So we're not the only district that has it. Many districts across the states do have an educator in resident. And this person is she taught, I know she taught at W.C. Williams for quite some time.
Yeah, she taught in 2014 was actually when she started
Okay.
this program. and it's a statewide, and the state reimburse her full salary.
Mhm.
But she's considered a district?
Yes, because technically she is, they reimburse us, so technically, yes, she is. She did apply for it, and because we are reimbursed, we don't technically lose by her being in that position.
And under number 2, have these people been getting that, this is the first time this additional amount, or do you know? Number 2, district supplement.
Now, Ms. Washington, number 2.
What it is, it was a discrepancy between when we combined the actual supplement, so to make everybody's supplement equal, that's why you have, if you notice, the third person with theirs is, the other 2 was approved for a different amount, so to make it all match up, they,
So you saying now all of them make the same thing?
yes.
Okay, Dr. Pulley.
The superintendent, Dr. Mary Brown, recommends that the school board approve the personnel for the 2020-2021 school year on the attached pages. Contracts will be issued as required.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve personnel for the 2020, 2021. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
School year on the attached pages. Contracts will be issued as required.
So move.
Second.
Then moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I would like to make an announcement before we dismiss. I spoke to the board earlier, and I reached out to Dr. Brown, and I just want to tell the public, after speaking with my family and people close to me and everything, I will not be seeking election for the District 1 school board position that's coming soon. And the reason I'm announcing tonight, because deadline for qualifying is coming soon, and anybody that's interested, I would like to let them know that I will not be seeking. It's been a rich experience. I've been appointed 3 times, and it means a lot to me, because when you're appointed, that means somebody else thought about you. When you run for election, you thought about yourself. So I've been appointed 3 times. That means somebody else thought about me running for this position. And I thought long and hard, and I even thought up until I pulled up into the parking lot. So with that being said, I enjoyed everything with y'all. Thank you.
And as a board, we thank you for your time. We thank you for your expertise. And at this time, if all board members will give him a round of applause.
You know you don't leave to January, but motion to adjourn, Madam President.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried.